Welcome back to another episode of Boots on the Ground with the Janys. On today's episode, we will be doing a market roundup of 2022 as well as our predictions for 2023. We will be breaking this into three segments. The first segment will be on condos, resale as well as new launches. The second segment will be on sale of landed properties, and the third one will be on the rental market. So we'll start off with the condos. Now we have resale as well as new launch condos. How has the performance been in 2022?
So in 2022, I think all sectors of the market have generally gone up. So I think we all know that. There's a slew of articles in the papers on that topic. As of December, I think the volumes have slightly dropped. And that's possibly because this is actually the very first year that people can travel freely post-COVID.
I think from October onwards, it has been dropping. Month on month, it has been on a downward trend at the ending of the year because of what you just said.
And of course, the other reason is the increase in the loan percentage.
Okay, and also I think another point is also to do with the fact that right now, all of the new launches that are coming into the market at the second half of this year or the last quarter, most of them are small new launches, meaning they are like about 100 units or so or less. That doesn't really add to the supply in the market at the moment. We don't have any mega big properties like 700 over units for sale.
It's kind of hard to read the statistics when you don't have the volume in a given month, especially in the real estate market.
Yeah.
And for the landed, I think all the prices are up, but right now from what we read in all the reports, there's a slight standoff between the buyers and sellers. The sellers' expectations are still on the quite high side, and the buyers are just not prepared to commit at these levels. And I think everybody has adopted this kind of wait and see attitude because of what is going on in the US, and everybody is predicting a recession in the US next year. But ironically, somehow this is just a layman's observation. Each time there is a recession in the States, it looks like all the funds flow into Asia, and Singapore seems to be doing quite well during those years. That's just an oxymoron, and I think it's also because now in Singapore we have a very stable currency and a very sort of stable political system. So I think there's a lot of money will be coming into Singapore just for this reason alone.
Time and time again, you can see that the prices of landed, no matter what, it's usually on the upward trend. I think for next year as well, I doubt there will be a correction where suddenly the landed prices will actually become cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they will still hold out on the price. That is my own prediction. But of course, there might be lesser activity if the interest rate is still on kind of like holding up on this way, so almost above 4 at the moment. That may impact the volume of transactions, but I wouldn't say the price would be heavily impacted.
Yeah. There's also a fallout in the sort of IT sector at the moment. Recently Financial Times also said that they will be retrenching people at Goldman Sachs. So all this may have a potential impact as well on the prices and the demand and the supply.
Yeah, and actually back to the point just now on the condo side, right? It's already been announced that the next quarter we would have a few mega launches coming out in the new launch sector. So in that sense, I would expect a little bit more activity in the market compared to what's happening right now. But maybe not during Chinese New Year, but maybe just after. I would think that would be where most of the market, where they also put most of the new launches to start selling. So I would see that would be an exciting time to see what's going to happen in the market. Then on the last point on rental, right?
There was a very interesting article about this because it said condo rents surged 34% from 1 year, and it's been going up straight for the past 23 months. Of course, a lot of tenants are getting impatient. They are concerned about the rising cost of rents. Everybody is kind of trying to crystal ball what's going to happen next. If there's more supply coming on, will the rents overall drop? It's a bit of a complex equation because we have existing tenancy sort of stock pretty much filled at the moment. there is some new supply coming onto
Yes,
the market
from those
next year.
completed projects that will complete next year, so there will be a bit of a bump in the supply as well.
But on the landed side and on the larger floor plate side, I don't think there's a lot of supply coming on. So it's all these cluster houses and all the landed properties. The supply is not going to increase dramatically. So again, it will depend how many people will be coming into Singapore next year now that the borders have opened up.
Yes, that's one.
And especially China has a big bearing as well on what is going to
happen next year.
What would you say? Would you buy, or would you adopt a wait and see and buy, let's say, a few months later?
You mean for next year?
Yeah.
I would like to see actually what will the new launches sell at, in February, when the prices are really they come out, and I want to see what are the pricing before I can answer your question, because at the moment that is the big question mark. What will the new launches launch at in pricing? Because that will determine whether you see the market going up or staying the same, or stabilizing in that sense.
And also there's going to be quite a few government land sales next year, so it's going to be interesting how these prices perform, because so far all the en blocs and the land that was sold this year, it's been just at record-breaking prices. So if the land cost has gone up, by inference, property prices have to kind of follow. And also we've been in a very high inflationary environment for the past 1 or 2 years, and that may not sort of dramatically slow down anytime immediately. Right?
Yeah, in terms of the rent, right, I also think one of the reasons why it may not drop so drastically is because if you notice, the government also has raised the pricing of the tax on the non-owner-occupied 1% increase, as well as with the GST. So I think taking into account all these measures, right, it's very hard for a landlord to actually lower his price when actually his cost is going up.
Yes, that's true.
So you have a rising interest and you have a higher tax.
Rising mortgage as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The mortgage will be more expensive. So as a landlord, it is difficult if they were to price it cheap, because they also have their own commitments to pay as well.
Other than that, what would you be looking out for next year? What kind of major events? I would say government land sales, the new project launches. How about if I saw a hot property in the resale market today? Would I pay top dollar slightly above the market? What do you think about that? I found a property.
But it really depends, because for me, right, as you know, we were talking about how size of an apartment now is very different from what it was before. So if we have like older properties of bigger sizes, then I do see a certain value of getting it, because I cannot buy it anymore.
There's no replacement.
Yes, there's no replacement value for these properties. If you're talking about everything else that is coming out, I highly doubt they will build the same size, like 2,000 square feet for a 4-bedroom now is no longer a common thing for the new launches. So if it is a big unit and I have the money to buy and the purchasing power, the holding power, why not? Because in the future, somebody else who wants to buy something like this, it will just get lesser and lesser, especially with the en bloc cycles. If they come back and they start tearing down all the older condos, then yes,
I think we've had more than 70 collective sales. So, you take that supply away from the market. These are mainly larger floor plate apartments built in the 80s, because typical for en bloc is about 45 to 50 years, and then, or let's say 35 to 45 years, then they consider en bloc. So you take this kind of supply, but what is coming onto the market are smaller apartments, even though they just changed the legislation that, you can't count the aircon ledge in this year. That's going to impact you. Probably will have slightly larger apartments, and also they have imposed a minimum size, so the apartments cannot be, like those shoebox type apartments. What else do you think, if let's say people in your age group and they are considering, should I buy now or should I wait 1 year? Because I think
honestly, I think it's all a matter of affordability, because waiting comes with a price. But if you don't have a choice, you cannot afford to buy now, then you have no choice but to wait. But I think now the bigger issue that I do see in my age group is really the affordability of properties, because you know, as with time, of course, the condos are getting more and more expensive. Even the prices of BTO, for example, they are not exactly dropping either. Every time they do a minor change in the legislation, and you know, it's like a 5% increase of cash outlay, that's where you see that it kind of does put off a few buyers, because suddenly their affordability has changed, you know. Yeah. So these people are affected.
If you had the money, and
Yeah.
would you be waiting for the market to drop, for example? Because there is a camp of people who are doing this.
Time and time again, it always comes back to these people are always waiting and seeing. But I would say that, of course, don't buy at the very peak of the market. If you can't predict, I understand.
Yes.
But if you know, you do see that the market is stabilizing, then I think it's okay to go and join into the market, because the time in the market also plays a part, because you will be coming in at a time where you can still, you know, command a good rent if you are investing. So it does make sense.
You're paying your own equity down every month. So, you know, even if, let's say, 1 year later the price dropped for a couple of percentage points, but you're not going to sell within this at least 3 years because of the seller's stamp duty.
So holding power is important as well.
Yes.
So if you do have all these things, then by all means, you know, it is still an asset class that you should at least have.
Singapore property is, you know, it's like what you said. It's not timing the market; it is time in the market.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we would like to round up this episode.
So what are some of your predictions for 2023 for the market? Leave it in the comment section below. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and to be politically correct, happy holidays to everyone. I'm Sharon.
I'm Richard.
We are the Janys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yes.